Well and well met, and welcome to the launch party for Feast of Fools from Innsmouth Gold. Yes, I'm your host, Tim Mendees. I'm going to be joined by 4 of my fellow authors, and one of them of which is the mastermind of this project. I'm going to bring him on very soon. Right, to get hold of a copy, there you go. That's the link right under there, mybook.2/feast_of_fools. So yeah, just type that in, and it's a universal link, so it'll take you to like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the usual sort of ebook, paperback suspects. Yeah, so that's how you get hold of a copy. And like I said, this is from Innsmouth Gold, and the mastermind of this project is my co-host this evening, Mr. Robert Poyton. I'll bring him on now.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, how are you doing?
I've had terrible trouble fitting my helmet over my headphones. I don't know if this was a common thing in barbarian times, but anyway, I might have to take the helmet off. And also, just in case things get a bit rowdy, I am prepared for any troublemakers. So let's keep this civil, shall we, folks?
Nice. You don't want to be around when Rob starts waving his weapon about, I'll tell you. Oh, matron. Yeah. So, Feast of Fools. This was another one of your brain children from Innsmouth Gold. Tell us about it.
It's the 5th anthology. We started with Ancestors and Descendants, which was prequels and sequels to Lovecraft stories. We've had Weird Tales, which was all about cats. We've had Portraits of Terror, which was Lovecraftian art-themed stories, and Corridors, which was a King in Yellow collection. So I thought it was time we did something a bit different. I've always been a huge fan of Sword and Sorcery and Robert E. Howard, and I thought maybe it was time to try a Sword and Sorcery anthology. And I have to say I'm absolutely delighted with the way this one has turned out. Some excellent stories and also some really great artwork as well from our friends at Graveheart Designs. So yeah, really pleased with this one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking book, isn't it? I don't know whether you can see it very well over there there we go. Well, yeah, that cover, I absolutely love that.
You've got to have a giant spider. You've got to have the giant spider, haven't you?
You've got to, haven't you? Yeah, and like you say, you've got them lovely pictures in front of the of each story, haven't you? Each story's got a little picture.
Its own little illustration. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So that released on Friday, didn't it?
Yes, it's out now on Amazon and everywhere else. I do sell copies direct, but what I find now is I mostly tell people just get it through Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever. It's usually quicker, and to be honest, the postage is a lot cheaper than if I send it out direct.
Yeah, especially to anywhere outside of the UK these days. It's I sent something out to Canada the other day, and it cost me like half a week's rent.
That's crazy, isn't it? It is. It's
mental.
Crazy. It's not. It's a difficult time for small publishers and mail order companies and that kind of thing. Yeah, but we persevere.
Indeed, somebody's got to, haven't they?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, as well as it being your baby, you've also got a story in there. So
I have, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, are you going to give us a little bit of a reading? Introduce it, give us a bit of a reading, sir.
Yeah, sure. So I thought what I'd do is I'd use my character Lorch Mac Lugade from my Wolf Who Would Be King series, which volume 7 of that is going to be coming out early in the new year. It's basically the story of a barbarian warrior from the north who wanders down into the civilized worlds, and it follows his exploits and adventures. But this is a standalone story, and it's set in the city of Varenzi, which lies on a larger lagoon, a canal city, at the time of the festival of the Feast of Fools. And Lorch has come into the city and made his way to the Red Palace, where he is out to kill the Grand Inquisitor for various reasons, which are revealed as we go along. As he makes his way through the Red Palace, he meets a woman called Francina, who's on her own mission to rescue her daughter, and the pair eventually end up in this large chamber, which seems to be set up for some kind of ritual. So that's where we join the story. Lorch's movement towards the far end of the chamber was brought short by the appearance of a tall, gaunt figure through the drapes. A man in sable robes, his shaven pate and bone-white skin lending him the aspects of a skull, entered. Grimani, place the girl in the center of the circle, would you? His instructions were cut off as he looked up. Dark eyes blazed as he took in the intruders. "Tolomeo," hissed Francina, hand dropping to the knife at her belt. Lorch grinned and strode forward. Any confusion experienced by the Grand Inquisitor quickly vanished. He gestured and uttered a single syllable that smote the pair like a physical blow. Lorch was immediately halted in his tracks, held in the grip of some unseen force. Francina reeled back, tucking her shoulders in to protect the girl in her arms before slumping to the floor. The Inquisitor strode confidently forward to examine them, as though each was some peculiar specimen in a collection. "What have we here?" His voice was soft and raspy, like the skitter of dead leaves across flagstones. "Ah, the girl. You would be the mother, I presume. And you," he turned to view Lorch, "you must be the father." "But no." His thin eyebrows creased. "You have the appearance of a mere ruffian, but there is something else about you. How curious." Lorch spoke through gritted teeth, sweat dripping from his brow as he fought against the invisible grasp. "Release me and I'll show you exactly what I am, dog. Your doom." Ptolomeo took this news with no sign of perturbation. "So a common assassin then. Nothing interesting at all. Who sent you? Dario, Afani, Montresor, perhaps? No, I see no sign of recognition in you at any of these names." "I have my own motives, dead man." "I'm sure you do, but as you have just discovered, a Grand Inquisitor is not so easy to kill." The harsh bark of laughter raised an eyebrow. "Your predecessor, Maldovio, died easily enough." A look of surprise flashed across the pale features. "You knew him? You were at the siege of Arillarat?" I was there." Lorch spoke with effort, lips writhing. "A mercenary in the employ of the knights of your order. One of the few that faced the Jahari hordes. Life was perilous enough before your murdering Inquisition arrived." Ptolomeo stepped closer to his captive. "Maldovio never returned from that place. You had a hand in this? You killed him?" "He perished not at my hand, though I sorely wished it. No, he died at the hands of the wretches we freed from his care. They served their own justice on your friend. Like most civilized men, he could give pain, but not take it." "Heathen swine!" The Inquisitor's face contorted into a mask of hatred. "He was a great man, you witless savage!" Lorch's facial muscles twitched as he drew his lips back in a mirthless grin. "Savage, you say? Yet my people do not murder children." And if you want to know what happens after that, you need to read the whole story. Get the book.
Next time somebody annoys me in the pub, I'm going to have to remember to go, "Heathen swine."
It always works for me.
Yeah, a London pub somewhere beats "you slag."
You slag.
Yeah.
Or perhaps "you heathen slag." I don't
You
know.
heathen slag. Oh, well, if you're one of the orcs from Lord of the Rings, then,
Well, there you go. Dunghill
Cocky
Maggot
orcs.
was always a favourite of mine from that.
Dunghill Maggot.
Dunghill Maggot, yeah.
Sounds like a borough. Nice one, matey. Okay, right. I'll just bob you off and bring the next guest on. Right, yes, for all you lovely people at home, if you have any questions, because we're doing a Q&A at the end of the... Once you've done all our readings and waffled a bit, we'll do some questions. So if you have any questions, get them in the thing and I'll get them read out and answered for you. We have a comment from Josiah. "Hello, matey. Yo ho ho indeed." And Lindsay sounds like it should be a place up here in Yorkshire. What, heathen swine? Or Dunghill Maggot? But yes, I totally agree. Right, I'm going to bring on my next guest. He is the editor of Schlock magazine and Lovecraftiana magazine. He's been on one of these before. Mr. Gavin Chappell. Hello, sir. Oh, blimey.
Another heathen swine, the gathering.
Excellent.
Or
Could always count on,
Will.
we indeed can always count on you to whip your weapon out, can't we?
Absolutely.
So how are you doing then, sir?
Oh, well, I'm doing okay. Apart from the kidney stones I got the other day, apart from that, I'm doing really well. Yeah.
Ooh,
So
not good. Yeah,
very
very
painful.
unpleasant.
But they gave me
Yes.
some morphine and that made things so much better.
I thought you had a sort of beatific smile. Yeah.
Life's always better with morphine.
There's something to put on your epitaph, isn't it? Right, yeah. So you've got a story in this?
I believe I have, yes.
Indeed.
And for once in a way, it's under my own name. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, cool. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it and give us a reading, sir?
Okay, this was one that just sprang into my mind. I have written other sword and sorcery stories. I mean, basically, I wanted to be 30 years ago, I wanted to be a sword and sorcery writer. I learned how to write. I looked around at all the markets that are available for sword and sorcery, and I got a proper job, because back then sword and sorcery was not exactly the thing. But yeah, I had a few other stories written, published recently in Sword and Sorceries, David Riley's book series, and Sword and Sorcery magazine online. But now I've got one in Feast of Fools, got a guy called Talon the Cutthroat, and also Eleonora Moonstar, who's a paladin who rides a hippogriff. Well, Talon the Cutthroat, the main thing about him is he doesn't really want to be a thief. He is a thief. He's a thief. He breaks into, catacombs and that kind of thing, but it's not really the job he wants. He doesn't know what job he does want, but definitely being a thief isn't it. But somehow or other, that's the job he's got. So that's my story. Well, I suppose you want to hear a bit of the tale. Let me see. Talon was a thief. This wasn't the way he'd envisaged his life. It was just something he was doing until something better came along. So he was a thief. Oh, and sometimes he cut throats. Purses too, on the more profitable nights. Or maybe none of that was true, because Talon also was a liar. A thief and a liar. And a cutthroat. But this was only temporary. One of these days he would really be somebody. Talon the Cutthroat, some people called him. But seldom twice. And even Talon the Rogue. He didn't like that either. That night, that fateful night, when it all went wrong, he was making his way through the forest of light in the direction of the holy Lawburg, not as a plaintiff, or a juryman, or even a sightseer, but as a thief. He had a plan to rob the ancient catacombs beneath the citadel, home to the mortal remains of Lord Zeno's august predecessors. If he pulled off this job, it ought to net him enough coin to settle down, go straight, become a force to be reckoned with in some real line of work. That was what he thought. That was what he hoped. No thief wants to be famous. It's bad for business. But how it had warmed his cockles to learn that he was notorious in some quarters. Thieves' quarters, of course. In the stews and the brothels of the cities of the Western continent, he was known to all the wrong people. Sometimes that was a help. Often it was more a hindrance. Regardless, he had little to fear on that score, not in these parts. The wrong people simply didn't go near the Lawburg, except as prisoners. 6 times had the greater moon chased the lesser from the night sky before he finalized his plans. He much preferred the planning stage to the venture itself. Usually the latter was either tedious, that was when the plan went off without a hitch, or terrifying, and needlessly adventurous, leaving him reflecting, sometimes from the dank confines of a dungeon, that he was really getting too old for this. When the plan just didn't come together, when it all went wrong. It was all going to go wrong tonight, far worse than it ever had before. But right at the moment, as he flitted from glowing tree to glowing tree, his eyes fixed on the citadel of justice that topped the Lawburg like an accusing finger pointed at a recalcitrant sky, he had no notion of quite how sour the plan was going to turn. He pulled up sharply, hearing the clank of metal-shod feet on rock. Darting into the cover of a glowing tree, careful to avoid contact with the radiant foliage, he peered out. Coming up the path, the crash of their armoured feet providing a discordant counterpoint to the ceaseless tintinnabulation of the iridescent crystalline leaves, were two guards bearing halberds. A patrol. Nothing he had gleaned from a dozen quiet inquiries had prepared him for this, patrolling guards in the forest of light. Its lethal vegetation was seldom traversed by any but the most rash. Gamblers, daredevils, those who would face all risks in return for a quick profit. Yet here they were. And from the scales of justice emblazoned on their armour, he knew them for imperial guards of the High Council of the Lawburg, possibly even Lord Zena's personal troop. He sat tight in his hiding place and waited for them to pass. But what was this? Both had halted mid-path and were staring at the starry sky. Talon glanced upwards, and that was when he spied what had alerted them. Tumbling through the night towards the citadel, clearly in trouble, was a tiny dot that abruptly resolved itself into that rarest of flying beasts, a hippogriff. On the back of the hippogriff sat an armoured figure.
Nice. Well done, mate. Yeah, excellent. You actually made me jump there when you did the old, like a finger. So I was mucking about with my Kindle trying to find my place in the story I'm going to read. I was like, oh.
So getting out my mighty weapon didn't
Oh,
bother you.
yes. No, I was already paying attention. Yeah, it was the finger. I was already paying attention when you did that. So... Nice one, mate. Excellent. Yeah, we had a comment from Gilead Artist who says he too is a thief and a liar and a cutthroat. One of those three claims is true.
Excellent. Love your art, by the way.
Ah, right. Yeah. Excellent.
You're a great artist.
Oh, superb. Yeah. Well, cheers for watching, mate. Right. Okay. I'll bring you on back on in a bit, mate. And cheers for that. That was great. Right. My next guest is from across the pond in the United States. Mr. Ben Crawford, or is it B. Harlan Crawford you are?
Well, first of all,
everybody's brandishing their weapons at me tonight.
Yeah, everybody needs a brandish and edge weapon, apparently.
Yeah. I should have brought my letter opener. I've got a sword letter opener, which it's like a stiletto. It's great.
I'm not a Gurkha, but I play one on TV. So.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. So whereabouts in the world are you then?
I live in Cleveland, Tennessee, of all places.
Nice.
It's about half an hour away from Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is
right.
Closest famous town.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so how long have you been sort of writing for?
Probably starting about in 2009. I actually started trying to form sorcery, horror type stuff and put it out there. I put a lot of stuff out on a blog and then like some websites like the Robert E. Howard forum. I started posting like Hyborian Age fanfics on there. Then
Nice.
from there, I just kind of started, submitting to you see different publications,
Yeah.
soliciting stories. I was like, well, I'll see how this goes. So really, it's just kind of a hobby to amuse myself, but it's kind of turned into a little more than that here the past
Excellent.
3 or 4 years or so.
Brilliant. Right, yeah, so you've got a story in here. What's it called?
It's called The Rotting Goddess.
Nice. So yeah, if you want to tell us a little bit about it and then give us a little bit of reading, and I'll give you the floor.
So it's about a Shina of a Bach, which is like one of these Amazonian barbarian ladies I've come up with that kind of wanders the earth getting in trouble. She's kind of a criminal, bandit chief kind of person. Not to be trusted really, but anti-hero type. She's not really terrible. I mean, she's pretty terrible, but she could be worse. In this story, she's kind of wandered into this desert outpost kind of place, and being short on money, she kind of accepts, kind of any kind of job she can get, and ends up in this wacky situation with some zany cultists and whatnot. So, to avoid any quote unquote spoilers, I guess I'll just read the beginning of the story here up to a certain point, and we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna have to read it. I don't have my print copy yet, so I'm gonna read it off my phone. So here we go. Rotting Goddess. Okay. The only city of any size before one had to cross the parched waste of the Shira al-Kami to reach Kairu to the north, or Nimrud to the east, Ubade sprawled in an irregular clay and timber blot about the oasis that was its namesake. Ubade swarmed with merchants, bandits, thieves, and moneylenders, all eager to prey upon the stream of travelers going to and fro. For Ubade was the last chance for travelers to rest and equip themselves before the grueling desert crossing, or the first to refresh themselves afterward. In one of the whitewashed mud brick houses of the residential quarter dwelt Gudea, a peddler of dyes and incense. Gudea himself sat at a table of lushly carved ebony, sobbing and tearing at his beard. His wife, Zifla, was if anything more distraught than he, laying on the sandstone tiles and clinging to her husband's feet. Behind him stood Gudea's dull-eyed, horse-faced brother-in-law, Adad, who grinned vapidly while staring at the ample chest of the outlandish woman seated across the table. Shania of a back looked up from the dregs gathered at the bottom of her brass flagon to sneer at the lecherous Adad. Shania was indifferent to the gaze of satiristic rakes, so long as they kept them hands to themselves. It was Gudea's display that discomfited her. The people of her tribe bore grief stoically. My daughter's remains will be defiled by those blasphemers, Gudea wailed. I beg thee, outlander, recover her so that her soul might be given over to Aseret. Tell me again what transpired, merchant. Gudea wiped his face with his sleeve, composing himself. With trembling hands, he took a sip of wine and continued. Shubere, my daughter, fell ill with fever. She did not linger and passed within the course of a day. As we lay her out in preparation for a funeral, our house was invaded by acolytes of the noisome god-slug Lugloth, lord of all that rots and suppurates. Did you resist them? Adad, my wife's brother, he indicated the horse-faced man, who now fairly quivered with libidinous zeal, and I continued with them as best we were able. But we are but merchants, not soldiers. There were at least a dozen took us by surprise and overwhelmed us. They were naked and glazed with a noisome tallow that they render from ripened cadavers, the stench of which blinds the eyes or stomach. Gudea blanched as the memory of the described foulness assailed his innards once more. He took a draught of wine before he continued. They knew not fear or pain. What fear could our cudgels hold for those who mutilate themselves to be as smooth and sexless as their mutilaginous god? They stole Shabire's body, and now they will allow her mortal remains to molder for the use in their unspeakable rites. And there we have it. If you want any more unspeakable rights.
Yeah, if you want more unspeakable rights, you'll have to buy a copy.
And remember,
excellent.
If you want to read Writing Goddess rated R, you got to ask your mama. So.
Brilliant. Well done there, mate. That was excellent. Yeah. No, the description of those bloody tallow candles, it made me sort of go,
yeah, I kind of grossed myself out a little bit, which I was like, that needs to be included for sure. So.
Definitely. Yeah. Anything that makes the reader wince is always a good thing to add, isn't it?
If I can put one reader off their dinner, then I'll be a success.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that, mate. I will bring you on very shortly.
All right.
Right, I'm going to bring on our final guest of the evening. Again, he's over the pond. This is my first time talking to him. This is Mr. Lyndon Perry. Hello, mate.
Hey, good evening. Good afternoon. Evening where you are. Afternoon
yeah,
where
evening. Yeah. Yeah, I've got to say, I'd never heard of Atlantic time before. I've heard of
I'm living
Eastern, Pacific, Central, and Mountain. And
so
I've heard
I'm in
of
Puerto
Newfoundland town.
Yeah. So I'm living in Puerto Rico, and we are, for the summer, we're on the same time as Eastern. But when everyone falls back in the States, we stay on Atlantic time. And so we are -4 from Greenwich Mean Time.
Right, yeah, because it confused me, because I was like, hang on a minute, because it's almost like Eastern, but it's not. And then and then you got
half the year we are. So.
Right, yeah, because things like, I think Nova Scotia's on the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. There's an Atlantic Canada time. I don't know if they fall back at all, or we just stay consistent. So we just moved here about 6 months ago, sort of semi-retired.
Nice.
I wanted to give a shot to writing again. I had started maybe 2007 to 2010, had my own magazine, actually, a small fanzine, speculative fiction called Res Aliens, and I'm actually relaunching that on Kickstarter. So I was researching Kickstarter, and I came across the project here, Feast of Fools.
Excellent.
And it said, Rob had pointed out there was the table of contents was not yet firm. I'm going, does that mean they're accepting stories? So I shot one off to him, and it worked out great because he accepted it and made one change. I have in my story, it's about wizards, and there's 7.
Is that you?
It's always wizards. There's 7 wizarding capitals. It's always 7, right? Too. And one of the wizarding capitals was a term that in England is a bad term.
he told me about that because we do podcasts together, and he told me about that.
Hilarious. I had no idea.
Yeah, I could see where you were going. You were thinking you're a nonce, weren't you? Not what we
So I learned something new every day. And not that we have to be politically correct, but something can really just throw a person out, and that's of course is no good.
Yeah, because like any British reader would be probably just sniggering.
And
not paying any attention to the story.
Exactly, and they would go, "What is this poser? He's from the States. He's trying to." But no, I started thinking I want to get writing again, and so I actually have this story about a master wizard who is very ambitious, and he's going to tame a demon, and it gets in trouble, gets a little more trouble than it's worth. And I've had this story for 10 years. I've tweaked it, worked on it, never submitted it, and I finally, you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
And so I sent it in. I tweaked it one more time, and it evidently worked for Rob, and I'm glad to be in the Feast of Fools.
Perfect. Right, yeah. If you'd like to introduce it and give us a bit of a reading,
sure.
I will leave you the floor.
All right, sounds good. Well, I don't have my paper. Hey, we in the States don't have our paperback copies yet. Come on, guys. No, just so I'm reading from the PDF here. See if I can see. It's called To Tame a Demon. And again, it's about a master wizard who, in the hierarchy of things, is looking to make a name for himself. And so he feels he can be a demon tamer. And so I'm just going to read a short beginning section. From the bottom of a dark pit, the rubied demon gazed up at its captor and his companion, eyes blazing gold and scales shimmering blood red. Two translucent wings fluttered in determined, dangerous rhythms. Master Frauen, the ancient citadel's demon keeper, tossed the devilish creature a large beef shank while his guest looked on. "A fine specimen you have there," sniffed Master Orlan. "An incubus, I see, or something quite close." "Actually, it's an Azerabub, a cousin to the incubus, although there's some debate as to their exact relationship," the demon keeper responded. "Ah, yes, I've heard of these creatures, believed to be near the bottom of the hierarchy, akin to an imp, since they likely lack intelligence and moral reasoning." Below them, the Azerabub grunted, grabbed the bone, and began to gnaw on it. Lifting its head, it seemed to debone the two men with its raging eyes. Orlan heaved its impressive bulk to the railing to get a better look, and the demon spat fire at the fat magician, and the impudent guest jerked back in alarm. "I think it disagrees with your assessment," Master Frauen said, chuckling. So that's enough. But this demon is on the prowl, and he makes an exchange with the master wizard, and the wizard has his own agenda, but so does the demon. And it fits, for me, it fits like sort of a beginning of a series of stories that I can follow and see where they head after this.
Excellent. Well, that's the beautiful thing about Sword and Sorcery, isn't it? In this kind of fiction, it just lends itself so well to serialization. And,
right. I love episodes. I love reading different adventures of our heroes or anti-heroes, as the case may be.
Indeed, definitely. Well, thanks for that, mate. Excellent. I'll bring you all back on very shortly. Just before I do, I've got a little bit of a reading of my story. My story is called The Lucky Thief, and it is set in H.P. Lovecraft's Dreamlands, which is probably going to be no surprise to long-time viewers and readers of mine that I've gone with a Lovecraft influence. But I was also influenced by Fafnir and Grey Mouser stuff of Fritz Leiber. And also there's a little bit of Clark Ashton Smith in there as well, which I can't talk about because I'll spoiler it. But we'll probably mention Clark Ashton Smith in a bit, because me and Rob have got a little sort of an almost competition going at the minute, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So yeah, my story focuses around a thief by the name of Rivens. And I'm just going to go right from the beginning, because again, I don't want to go into spoiler territory. So here we go. This is The Lucky Thief. The city gate clanged shut behind the master thief as he stumbled towards the well. Night had fallen, and the twin pink moons cast the courtyard in long shadows that hid 100 pairs of inquisitive eyes. Overhead, 2 shantaks wheeled north, heading for the mountains. The monstrous winged beasts appeared locked in a dance that could have been either courtship or combat. Rivens paid them little attention as he raised the bucket, dipped his water skin into the fragrant liquid, and slaked his thirst. He'd been on the road for what felt like an eternity. The only thing that ached more than his feet was his head. Sobriety wasn't something he was accustomed to enduring. It had been days since he'd last even had a sniff of ale, the long slog from the last town made even more arduous by some thieving scoundrel making off with his supplies as he slept off a skinful in an abandoned barn. Oh, the irony. That was usually his trick. How he'd survived crossing the jungle of Parg with a single skin of water was something of a mystery, and spoke of the motivation of avarice. As Rivens dipped his drinking vessel back into the bucket for a refill, something warm and comforting rubbed against his leg, vibrating in time with its breathing. "Ah, hello, puss. Good to see you again. I haven't got that fishy I promised you yet. I'll see about sorting it out once I've been paid." The cat looked at him askew. You haven't seen a whoreson answering to the name of Geatherman, have you? The cat cocked its head, then wandered lazily in the direction of the Cotter's Lament, one of Ulthar's rowdiest drinking establishments. Rivens smiled. Figures you be back here, you old lush. His contact, a fence and black marketeer by the name of Geatherman, had failed to meet him at their prearranged rendezvous in Dilathleen. Since then, he'd been in every low-down drinking pit in the Western Dreamlands. Knocking the worst of the dust from his cloak, Rivens followed the portly tabby towards the inn, mentally inventing creative penalties to inflict upon Geatherman should he not have his coin as arranged. The cat stopped by the door and rolled on his back for a belly rub. Rivens, despite his knees and back screaming, crouched and obliged. After all, it wasn't wise to get on the wrong side of the feline rulers of Ulthar. Thanks, puss, he grimaced, straightening and pulling the door ajar. A miasma of pipe smoke and stale alcohol met him as he stepped inside. It was as welcome as a kiss from a Salefe's courtesan after what he'd endured since he set out on Geatherman's little job. Pausing just inside, he carefully studied the patrons to ensure he wasn't about to run into any trouble. A man in his line of work has a habit of making enemies. It always paid to be cautious. The inn was full of the worst kind of bandit and mercenary imaginable. It didn't look like there was an honest man amongst them. This was good. He was as safe here as anywhere. A thief-taker would have been spotted instantly and turned into cat food before you could say Niall Athertep. As Rivens looked for his quarry, his attention was drawn to the far end of the bar by a familiar chuckle. Skirting a table of ghouls playing a round of bones, he peered around the wooden beam that had obscured the table from view. There you are, you bulbous old bastard. Geatherman poured out a couple of coins into his pudgy mitt and passed them to a barkeep. The hulking fellow took the payment and slammed a foaming tankard down in front of his customer. Cheers, Geatherman beamed, his cheeks rosy and his ginger beard bristling. He was about to tip his head back and take a swig when an iron sword slammed down on the table next to him. Hey, watch it, you big hairy lump. You nearly spilled me ale slamming your sword down like that. Stepping into the candlelight, Rivens lowered his hood and flashed a predatory grin. Oh, it is you. Geatherman held out a clammy fist in greeting. Upon my soul, Rivens, what brings you back to this festering hole? And if you want to know why Rivens had gone back to that festering hole, you're going to have to buy a copy of Feast of Fools. Righty-ho. I'm going to bring back my guests now. We'll do some questions. If you have any questions, get them down in the comments section. First of all is Rob and Gavin and Ben and Lyndon. Excellent. Just before we do the questions, just want to say, me and Rob, our little competition we've had since we started doing Strange Shadows.
Yeah,
we're
each episode we pick a couple of favourite words out of the story. Normally words that we've had to look up because Smith's vocabulary is quite amazing. Yeah. And we've got a bit of a competition to see how many of those words we can fit not only into our work but also into just normal everyday life.
Into daily life, yeah.
And I have to say my favourite so far, I think when Gavin came on the show,
yes,
was what was it, being in the state of pecuniary depletion. I've used that one more than anything else.
Yeah, pecuniary depletion.
Very topical.
Yes, indeed.
Although I think Ben wins today with mucilaginous. That's outstanding. Good work.
Oh yeah, top marks for
that's
that.
Great.
Yeah.
Can I just say that
I'm entirely sure that's a word.
Sorry, I didn't realise how much of a problem I was going to create for myself by writing the lines. providing a discordant counterpoint to the ceaseless tintinnabulation of the iridescent crystalline leaves.
Oh my.
Yeah, I gave you a little round of applause for that.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, we won't be
done.
using the word I used in my story, so we can cut that one from our use.
Yeah, that reminds me of Jack Vance, actually.
Whisper it to
Jack
me
Vance,
later.
wrote a novel
We'll do it in the
called
private chat.
Servants of the Wank.
Oh
Which
yeah.
in
Yes.
Bolton, I'm sure is not a problem, but around here it's a little bit.
I found a
Yes.
copy of it at the convention I was at not long ago, and I took a picture and I'd post it all over the internet. Going, hey!
There was a copy in a second-hand bookshop near me, and I wanted to. I love Jack Vance. My character in this story is very much based on one of his characters, but I just could not bring myself to buy a copy.
Not the sort of thing you read on the train.
Excellent. Yep. It was like a
Servants of the Wank is a tremendous book, though, if you can get
It is.
title.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you people at home, get some questions down. First of all, I'll start us off. Right. So what was your influences on this story? What are your sort of biggest influences when it comes to sword and sorcery? Rob?
Oh, well, the Wolf series is unashamedly a tribute to Robert E. Howard and Conan in particular. I make no bones about it being a sort of, I think someone saw it's sort of Conan adjacent, you know.
Nice.
At least that's how it started. But as I've gone on, I say I'm on the 7th one now. It's taken on its own sort of life and everything as well. And, you know, I've been able to bring some other elements. Of course, especially the latest one, is that there's going to be a sort of Innsmouthian story in there, a visit to a version of Innsmouth. So there's a big Lovecraft influence as well. But yeah, I would say for that particular character and series, Howard is up there. I don't think anyone came close to him for real blood and thunder, sword and sorcery. Although, of course, there's other great writers. But that's my main one, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Gavin?
Well, Robert E. Howard is a big influence on me, just generally speaking, as a writer. I would aspire to write something that had the same effect on them, on the reader, as it had on me as a 14-year-old first reading Conan novels and just being grabbed and just dragged along by the story and loving every minute of it. But as I was saying before, Jack Vance is one of the influences for this particular story. His character, Kugel the Clever, I may be mispronouncing it. I've never been quite sure how you pronounce half the names of the characters in fantasy, but he's a completely amoral, evil character. And I was playing around with ideas. I thought, wouldn't it be great to have, this doesn't come out in the bit I read, but wouldn't it be great to have someone as amoral as Kugel and a kind of advanced Dungeons and Dragons paladin, lady paladin who rides on a hippogriff as a kind of buddy, or not exactly friend, kind of double act. That was my basic idea. And of course, I won't give away what's lurking in those, what's actually haunting those catacombs.
Excellent. Yeah, Ben, over to you.
Well, aside from the obvious Howard, and Lovecraft, and Clark Ashton Smith kind of influences, there's probably quite a bit of Fritz Leiber in there. But this particular story is set in this post-apocalyptic kind of future. It's like thousands of years from now, horrible stuff has happened, and the people, don't remember us at all, or and it's kind of reverted back with the occasional technology turning up and not understood properly. So that'd be more like in the old Thunberry and Car Gamble world, the role-playing game, a lot of influence on that particular setting. This story, I was kind of treating years ago. I read Brian McNaught, which had this kind of greedy, unsettling it left me feeling kind of nauseous after reading it, and I kind of wanted to capture some of that lurid grittiness that he had without actually, copying his stuff or whatever. So, but that did kind of influence this particular story with all the human tallow candles and whatnot, and rubbing yourself down with corpse grease. And there's some more stuff later in the story that kind of probably the corpse grease is like the pinnacle of discussing that, but there's some more in there. So yeah, it's
excellent.
So
yeah. Excellent. Bloody corpse grease. Yeah. Excellent. Right, over to you, Lyndon.
I'll be the
New
odd
band
man
name.
out. Huh? What's that? No, I'll be the odd man out. I did not grow up reading Conan or any of the other classics here that we've mentioned. I went with more high fantasy, I suppose. Of course, the Shannara books, Stephen Donaldson's Lord Fowl's Bane, David Eddings, the whole slew of books there with he and his wife. The one influence for this story, this guy named Lyndon Hardy. I like that name because it's my name. So I went to a bookstore and I found a guy, Lyndon Hardy, and I'm going, well, that's cool. So I just bought it, because it's my name. And he wrote this book series trilogy, Master of the Five Magics. I'm trying to look it up here. Secret of the Sixth Magic and Riddle of the Seven Realms. And there's the seven again, And it was the, just the hierarchy of magic and how magic works according to certain rules. And I mean, that's nothing new. Of course, most good stories have some sort of rules or hierarchy. And so that was my influence for this particular one. I do have a standalone, which I want to turn into a series story featuring Outram, who's more heroic adventure. But I sort of, if I had to call him, I'd call him Conan the Believer. So he's Outram. He is a noble character. He follows. It's not specifically Christian fantasy, but it's not dark. It's more heroic adventure. So this story, I wanted to go dark. I wanted to just sort of do the opposite.
Excellent. Yeah, I think I mentioned my influences there, but just before I did it, yeah, it was probably Faffy the Grey Mouser meets Lovecraft with a dash of Clark Ashton Smith. Yeah, and so I think it's the first proper sword and sorcery thing I've ever written. So I've never actually, I mostly do cosmic horror and the other end of Lovecraft, But
that sounds like a book in itself, The Other End of Lovecraft.
The Other End of Lovecraft. Yeah. That's not bad. Another one for the notebook, mate. It's but I wanted to do one, and I've been wanting to write one for a while because I'd originally written most of the dialogue in this for a competition. It was to write a story in dialogue only form, and I'd done the conversation in the bar between Geefham and the Rivens, and I got runner up. So I was obviously onto something, but I no matter how much I looked at it, it didn't feel right without any flowery descriptions and because I am quite purple in how I write. So without any big flowery descriptive passages, it just seemed lacking. So I've been itching for a reason to go back and rewrite it, and this was a good excuse here. Josiah says, "Damn, good job all. What publishing company is this?" He feels like he missed out on one of his favourite genres. He's a great writer, is Josiah. And definitely included his plethora of props. when he's done these videos before, yeah, he is the prop man. Yeah, but yes, the company is him in the middle there at the top.
Yeah, Innsmouth Gold. Yeah, www.innsmouthgold.com. Although I've not updated the website for a little while. That's something I must do this week. We've got all the books on there and also some music, Lovecraftian music, and a few other things as well. Yeah.
Some good t-shirts. I bought one of your t-shirts.
Oh,
the other week,
t-shirts.
didn't I?
Yes. Thank
Bought
you. Yes,
your,
you did, sir.
my cat went to Ulthar and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had to be done. Yeah, we've had some other comments, which just one second. David Green says, hello, sweetie. How you doing? That's Mr. Green, Mr. David Green, fantasy author. And yeah, one of my co-conspirators in various projects over the years. He was involved in the Nookie-Nomicon with me, with myself and Rob.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Gilead Artist says he just bought himself a copy. So thanks, man. Excellent. Yeah. It's much appreciated. So if you want to follow his example and buy yourself a copy, that's how you do it. That's the link just there. Okay. And we have a couple of questions here. We have one from Dawn, who says, hello, everyone. When you're writing, what is the best thing you enjoy about writing? And also, what is the worst part of writing? So, yeah, we'll go around the room. So, Rob, you're first, mate.
For me, the best thing, one of the things I enjoy the most is doing the initial research and plotting out the story. And sometimes I normally have a start and a kind of ending for a story, and then the rest sort of develops as you go along. And sometimes the ending changes. So I enjoy that process. And it might sound odd to think you do research for fantasy, but you know, if you want to get your weapons right, or the one I'm doing at the moment is pirate based, so I'm getting all my ship terms right and everything else. And might say Gavin is a master of getting the weapons terms right. Yet again, I just read Sinbad and the Great Old Ones and the mention of the Yataghan and things like that. That's excellent.
Got them straight from Robert E. Howard.
Yeah. So that part of it, I really enjoy it. And sometimes when you just sit and write and it just seems to flow out, that's always very rewarding. And then, of course, I suppose getting feedback. The worst bit is proofreading, editing, and formatting. That's one of the most tedious things ever. And no, I'm sure everyone will say the same, no matter how much you do of it. As soon as you get the book, you open it up and you see that spelling mistake straight away. You know?
Yeah, my first edited anthology, the first one that I actually curated and edited, I got hold of the copy, I opened it, and there was a spelling mistake right on the first page of the bloody forward.
Yeah.
I was like, no! You know, I'm convinced there's some wanker that works at Amazon or somewhere.
Something creeps into the book.
And some nonce. You mean there's some nonce at Amazon? Yeah, we'll get that word in. You see.
There we go. Yeah, some nonce at Amazon. Was it what? Fort Nonce. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there we go.
Now.
Yeah. Brilliant. Gavin, over to you, mate.
Well, the thing I most like about writing is having done it. Having finished it. It's having finished the first draft. Yeah. And then I can look back and say, oh, God, no, rewrite that. I quite like editing. I mean, I do a fair bit of that now and then, small sideline. But I much prefer having one, a first draft, and then being able to go back and say, no, get rid of that. Oh, maybe add this. Maybe, change that. Oh, get rid of that chapter completely. Oh, hang on a second. I haven't researched that bit. I'll go back and, oh, no, they didn't have them back then. All right, okay, rewrite that complete. That kind of thing. I much prefer having some kind of thing to work on. It's like being a sculptor and you've got a rough bit of stone. You can keep on chipping until eventually you get something worthwhile. That's my approach to writing. I don't know if I ever get to the point where it's anything worthwhile.
That's interesting because you've both brought up like your kind of methods, which is actually another question we have here. So we'll do it at the same time. It's basically, are you a plotter or a pantser? Like Rob said, you sort of start with a beginning and an end and fill in the middle, sort of thing. Yeah. And Gavin, you say, well, what's your process? Do you just?
I am very much a plotter. I like to get it. I like to know where I'm going. I like to know how it's going to start. And if I don't know where it's going in the middle, that's when I start to lose my grip on things. I like to know what's going to happen pretty much on every page. That's
right.
That's the way I am.
Excellent. Yeah. Right, Ben, over to you, mate, with the question.
What I enjoy most is like the initial planning out and like plotting out the story. I got a journal. I'll do little thumbnails of the plot, and I like make little illustrations of stuff of scenes I want to appear in the story, and draw out some little maps of the area, little D&D style maps. Like, here's this temple, and it's gonna have a room in here, and there'll be horrible killings in this room. That's what I enjoy the most. And like, I enjoyed trying. Not that I'm doing any kind of historically accurate depictions of anything, but I like research. Like right now, I'm working on a Bronze Age set tale, and I'm like enjoying, finding out all these little details of like bogmen and whatnot to put in here, and that, and make sure I'm at least remotely. The worst part for me is actually typing out the first draft, like onto a word processor, and the whole story, because it's like, ooh, what's going to happen? And if there's just a way to like plug my brain into the computer and print it out, it would be great. Type all that. That's the super tedious part, and I'll just like stream of consciousness and have like this massive document. Then I go through and like chip away all the stuff that's not story that I put in there, and then at that point it becomes more pleasurable to work on. It's like almost like polishing out something to where it's nice and how I want it. So yeah, the initial draft is like the worst part for me.
Right. So over to you then, Lyndon.
I'm a pantser when it comes to short stories. I won't even start with an idea. Sometimes I'll just take a pencil and paper and start scribbling out, and then a story develops. Sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't. And so that to me is one of the most enjoyable things about writing. I write to discover a story. And then all of a sudden, I'll see things that my subconscious planted early in the story that resolved and were important to the conclusion. When it comes to writing longer stories, I'm working on becoming a plotter, because I can't hold a longer story in my head. But for short stories, I just write into the dark and see where it leads, and I have fun with it. The worst part is sending that story then off to submission, trying to get it published. I just, whatever reason, there's this little, in my head, oh, maybe I shouldn't send it. Oh, should I send it? Should I send it? And so I just you just get over that fear and you end up on a podcast. So what do you think?
Well, we're glad you did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm similar to you. I'm a complete and total pantser. I tend to get an idea in my head. It's usually just something as daft as a scene or a snippet of dialogue. Yep. And then I have to sort of write something to get to it. It's sort of like, I've got this daft scene about this thing happening. Right, okay, how can I do this? And just go. And I tend to write in a stream of consciousness. I'll just go and go and go until it's finished. And then get the shears out and go, well, that bit's completely superfluous. That's complete gibberish. And that's kind of my process. It's kind of chaotic, but I kind of thrive on the chaos of it. I've tried plotting. I've tried to do it, and I can't. If I start plotting, I never get anything written, because I'll just spend all day writing stupid little notes on Post-its and sticking them around the room. And
I had that problem when I started writing. I work out a plot, I write it down, and if I'd written it down, I could never do it. So I have to work it out in a lot of detail, but up here, and keep it up here until I've written it out. The best I can do is come up with the chapter titles, and that'll sort of guide me and remind me of what's happening. But I've got to keep it up there until I eventually it's all over the place.
Nice. Okay, I might give that a whirl.
The other thing I found challenging was with short stories, it's not so bad, but writing even a novella and then over several novellas is keeping track of what happened where and who it happened to and everything else. And I find that the challenge, and even proofreading to some extent with fantasy names, is you have to constantly check.
Yeah. Oh man.
If people are called Brian and Jake and Wendy, you kind of, when they're Brachius and Machius and whatever, did I spell it with a C or a K? I can't remember. That's a bit.
That's where spell check's useful, because you can add those names to the spell check, and then it'll tell you got them wrong.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing with it, because I edited a book that's coming out in a couple of next week, Shadow over Doggerland, which Rob and Gavin are both in, and editing that was an absolute nightmare because of all the weird bloody Stone Age names and all the rest of it. I just got to the point where I was just like, I'm just going to have to add these names to the spell checker and see what happens.
You have to do it.
Yeah. But I think for me, the best bit of writing is that initial rush when it clicks in my head, and I kind of go into lockdown. I kind of go, if I start typing something and then it clicks in my head, and I'm one of them people who, once I start, don't get in my way. Don't ask me to do anything else, because that's it. I'm kind of blinkers on and I kind of go for it, and it's kind of a rush to try and get it all down before it evaporates, or something like that. The worst bit of the whole process for me is the sheer amount of time you have to spend arsing about on social media. And I don't mean doing like things like this, because this is fun. This is one of the fun parts of it. And podcasting, talking to other authors, that's the good bit. It's the bloody posting graphics and making graphics, and it is because it's so time consuming that you'll have entire weeks where you don't get any writing done because you're spending all your time on bloody Twitter going, hey, buy this book, So that's basically it for me.
Right. I just wanted to mention as well, just to name check the other authors in the book. And one thing I just wanted to say was Sword and Sorcery often gets, I guess, since the movies of the 80s, it often gets this tag of, it's all the same. It's a big guy with a sword and big bosoms and kill the monster kind of thing. But I think just in this book, and certainly in other anthologies as well, you can really see the breadth of Sword and Sorcery and the kind of different stories it covers. And I think we've captured that in this book as well. The stories are all similar theme in a way, but all very different characters and situations. So we've got The Horn of Tur by H.R. Lawrence, who's a British author. We've also got The Colour of Decay by Ashley Diocese, and she set that in Hyperborea, so that's very Clark Ashton Smith.
Yeah, I spotted when I was looking for my story in the PDF earlier. I scrolled back too far and caught the end of hers and spotted a name of an entity that I was very happy to see.
Yes. hence the giant spider on the cover. No spoilers, but that's the I'll just leave that there.
I did wonder. Yeah.
We've got Wind by Russell Smeaton. We've got Skyfall by Glyn Owen Barris, which is a very interesting little take. Again, I don't want to say too much without giving spoilers away. Shelley de Cruz, we've got The Guide, the General, and the Priest, which I really enjoyed. Which the sort of the two characters there are a very uptight general from the Imperial Guard, and a sort of roguish, what would you call him, like a steppe rider, like a sort of Mongol steppe rider who acts as the guide. That's a nice one. And then Lee Clark Zumper with One Sword Against the Gluttonous Gods, which gets the prize for the best title in the book.
Yes.
And is a real epic, that one. Yeah. So again, although it's all Sword and Sorcery, we've got a nice range of characters and situations and everything else.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That actually brings me neatly onto the next question I was going to ask, because you mentioned it there, the movies. So what's your favourite Sword and Sorcery movies? And also, what's the worst one you've ever seen?
Oh, blimey.
Yeah. Go on, Rob. What have you got?
Well, see, I'm in a bit of a dilemma there, because Conan the Barbarian, 1981, was it? Was it really that long ago? I suppose it was.
Yeah.
Probably, I'd have to say, slightly grudgingly, the best Sword and Sorcery movie, but not a Conan film. Not a Robert E. Howard Conan.
No.
In my eyes, anyway. Yeah. So I'm a bit sort of whatever on that one. I always like things like, does Jason and the Argonauts count? Harryhausen,
I'd say so. Yeah.
I don't think you could beat that.
It counts.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Well,
there we
then,
go.
that's,
Yeah.
that's what I put up the top there. I think something like that. And worse ones. Well, I mean, there was a whole slew of sort of 80s muscle barbarian films, wasn't there? But then also other good things, little known ones like Hawk the Slayer. Those kind of
That
small
was
budget
good.
films.
I really
Yeah.
enjoyed Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah. I don't think we've seen the definitive Sword and Sorcery film yet. I think it's still yet to be done. I mean, you know, a Farford and Grey Mouse of series or something could be excellent.
That'd be awesome.
Really.
That'd be great. I'd definitely, I would definitely sit down and watch that. Yeah. Gavin?
Well, Conan the Barbarian, the original film, is a brilliant film. It's not the same Conan as Robert E. Howard's. It's not the same Conan as Robert Jordan's or any of the other people. It's not the same Conan, thank God, as Conan the Adventurer. Either of the two series, animated one or the other one.
Oh man, yeah.
They were what I've seen of them. They were dire.
Yeah,
I think it's a brilliant film. It's a different Conan, but it's brilliant. But apart from that, there were any number of films in the 80s. There've been any number of films, well, about 3 this year. It's been a great year, that kind of thing. The Spine of Night, I thought that was brilliant.
Oh,
absolutely brilliant. Anyone seen
I
that?
haven't even heard of that. No,
I've not seen that.
That was
No.
a Sword and Sorcery film out this year. Amazing. The Northman was good as well. I didn't see The Green Knight, but I have to say, when it comes to bad Sword and Sorcery films, my all-time favourite is You're the Hunter from the Future. Check it out.
Oh,
that is just utterly amazing. It is so bad. I wish I'd written it.
That's one of the ones I rented from the video shop. Got it home on a Sunday afternoon, put it in.
It is
and I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
Did you want to help cut the choice meats?
Yeah.
Best Sword and Sorcery film. Ator the Fighting Eagle. It's probably the finest Sword and Sorcery film ever made. Just kidding. John Milius, Conan the Barbarian. John Milius, is Conan the Barbarian. No, it's not like a perfect Conan film, but I think it is Howardian in a lot of ways. I think that's probably the best Sword and Sorcery. Jason the Argonauts. I saw that when I was like 6, and it stuck with me forever. And I would say that qualifies as Sword and Sorcery. But that's a fine motion picture too.
Definitely.
Just quick tangent as far as anything. Spine of Night was really awesome. If you haven't seen that, check it out. The animated series Primal. I can't pronounce the guy's name that puts it out, but it's the animated Primal. It's super Howardian and does veer into Sword and Sorcery as it goes on. I recommend that to anybody. Worse, I'm going to just throw out Iron Master. It's probably the worst Sword and Sorcery label movie I've ever tried to sit through. So, but then again, I'd rather watch Iron Master than, Bridges of Madison County or something like that. So it's still pretty entertaining. It's just prepare to take some sanity loss when you sit through it.
Fail a couple of sun rolls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Lyndon, over to you.
I'm out of my league. You guys know your history. I still like the original Doom.
We're old.
No, there's snippets of some good Sword and Sorcery, like on Vikings. I can't remember which season, but there's a couple of, the show Vikings had the witch, and then Last Kingdom was actually historical fiction, Bernard Cromwell. But I think season 3, when Netflix took over it, that was dark with the witch there. So, I mean, there's, I couldn't tell you a movie, but I see snippets of it in streaming shows.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think for me, I'm probably going to throw a slight curveball and say that I thought that the Red Sonja movie. I know it was terrible, but there's something about it. There's just something about it that I absolutely love. I think it's just a nostalgia thing. But seriously, though, it's probably Conan the Barbarian. But for me, that really bad Red Sonja movie has a special place in my heart. I think the worst one I've got to see is, did anybody see the Uwe Boll In the Name of the King? They did a sequel.
It was going cheap from Tesco's.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
But the sequel, the sequel was even worse.
Impossible. I don't believe you.
It's like he had half the budget of what he had for the first one. So the first one he had about like a crate of lager and a couple of packets of crisps, and the second one he had a 6-pack and a box of fags. That was about it. Yeah. Right. Well.
Actually, Lyndon there has just reminded me of something, talking about the streaming shows. If you ever get a chance to see Britannia, which was set in a Roman occupation of Britain. Yeah.
I was trying to think. I'm going Vikings, Last Kingdom. There's one more.
Yeah. That's full of craziness. I think that's a really good series. And I'd just like to give honourable mention to Korgoth of Barbaria, which was an Adult Swim cartoon, which was one of the funniest things ever done, but they never took it up. I think the pilot episode was done. Have a look on YouTube, Korgoth with a K of Barbaria. It's hilarious. That's really good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up now because we've been waffling on for over an hour. So thank you all for joining us today, chaps. And thanks to everybody at home watching. Just before we go, I'd like to tell everybody what you're doing. What have you got in the pipeline at the minute? Rob?
I think, as I mentioned, I'm working on Volume 7 of the Wolf Who Could Be King series, Wolf on the Waves, which is Look at Sea, is Pirate Years. I've also got a couple of short stories I'm working on at the moment going out. And, of course, as always, every week, yourself and I are working on the Innsmouth Book Club podcast and Strange Shadows Clark Ashton Smith podcast as well. That's keeping us quite busy, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah. Very, very enjoyable, though. It's not like
absolutely.
Work at all.
No, it's great. It's great fun.
Yeah. Gavin?
Well, I'm currently I'm doing a fair bit of editing. I'm editing the next edition of Schlock Webzine, which will be out at the end of the month, or will start next month. I'm also editing the next edition of Lovecraftiana, which will be out next year, and we'll be celebrating 100 years of weird fiction, because it's going to be 100 years since Weird Tales was founded in 1923. And somewhere along the way, I do intend to write a story for Lyndon's anthology.
Thank you.
Which ends, the submission call ends at the end of the month. Is that right?
For you, end of December.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm still in the middle of writing my D'Artagnan Buccaneer story, which is inspired by Tim's D'Artagnan, Three Musketeers, Cthulhu story. So I've got about 3/4 of the way through, but still going to finish that. Apart from that, I'm fine. I haven't got any kind of stress at all.
Awesome. Ben?
Well, I've got some sorcery stories that are in queue to get put out in the next issues of Whetstone and Savage Realms Monthly. I'm not sure if those are going to actually see the light of day, but they've been accepted. Other than that, I'm working on 2 stories right now. The aforementioned Bronze Age bog mummy thing I'm working on is kind of swelled like novella size, but I'll probably pair them. 2 stories or mashed together to make one. We'll see how it goes. I've got another thing. It's a more post-apocalyptic kind of weirdo thing involving like a...
he froze.
Yeah, he's frozen.
This guy's basically an uplifted gorilla is going to wander in, and it's actually Nelson from my King in Yellow story that Rob published there in the
right.
Corridors anthology. I saw do something else with that character. So,
brilliant.
Nelson the man ape. So
yeah,
we'll see what he gets up to. So that's what I'm working on. jotting down some
Brilliant.
ideas, trying to keep things going. One day I'll publish that D&D module I've been threatening to put out. So,
Oh, do yes,
Oh,
please
yeah.
do.
Use Kickstarter. Those are very popular. My goodness.
I've
Yeah.
I need to look into that. Really, I need to get off my can and look into Kickstarter, get some of that.
Touch base with me and we can talk, because there are numerous D&D 5e projects on Kickstarter that are very successful.
Cool.
Excellent. Yep.
I'll hit you up.
Lyndon.
Two things. I do have a Kickstarter right now finishing up this week for my magazine. It's sort of a webzine, fanzine that I'm bringing back. But then in January, through Kickstarter, we're going to do the Swords and Heroes anthology. It's I'm very excited. I think I have a story from Adrian Cole.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And also Mike Chin sent me one, but it's sort of it's very different. So I actually asked him if I could put that in my first magazine. So I'm very excited to work with these people I've been reading for the past couple of years and go, wow, I'm actually going to work with them to put an anthology together.
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, I'm currently wading through submissions. I've been curating Erie River Publishing's Cosmic Horror open call, and it was open for a couple of months, and I think at the end it's had like just around 300 submissions.
Wow.
So yeah, I've basically spent the last month
something into that. Your checks on the way, by the way.
Nice.
Flattery and bribery both work.
Mainly bribery,
but especially bribery.
Yeah.
Pecuniary inducements.
Yeah, aside from that, I'm working on a full-length novel, which will be my first full-length novel, because all the other stuff I've done has been novellas. And it's set in a 1990s leisure centre. So I've spent a ridiculous amount of times down that research rabbit hole about bloody plumbing for swimming pools. It's like, because I have to get it right, because I know that there'll be somebody out there who'll go, that's not how the filter works.
Always happens.
Right. Oh yeah, every time. Right. So yes. Thank you all for joining me, and thank you all you people at home for watching and for commenting. Rob.
Sorry, Tim. I just want to give a special thanks to all our Kickstart backers as well, because without you, none of this ever works. Every project we've put out so far has reached its target, and we've been able to put out. And we're eternally grateful for your backing. We hope you enjoy what we're putting out. And of course, we'll be putting out some more stuff next year as well. So a big thanks to the Kickstart, and thanks to all you guys, the authors as well, some of whom we're working with for the first time, such as Lyndon and Ashley and that. It's great to have you on board. This is the first time I've had to leave things out. Normally I try and get all the stories in, but there were so many good stories. Every story was really good. Volume 2, perhaps, we'll look at as well. Yeah. And just finally, I feel like I'm doing a wedding speech now. I'd like to thank my wife, Graveheart Designs, the team at Graveheart Designs, because the illustrations in this are really top notch. So big thanks to them as well. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Thanks for that. Yeah, I'm glad you always end up doing these bits, even when we did the podcast, because I can never get through them without making a complete hash of it. It's like when you read out the names of the patrons. It's like, I'm so glad you didn't ask me to do that. So butchering people's names left, right, and centre.
I'm gonna start asking you now, so you shouldn't have told me.
No, I should keep me gob shut, shouldn't I? Right. On that note. You're going to put your helmet on again?
I am. I'm going out to vanquish some hordes. We've got trouble with the orcs again down the road, so,
The bandit.
I need a sword. Come on. I'm left out again. I need a sword.
There we go. That's how we roll.
Thank you very much for watching, people. Good night.
Good night.